Canada releases £50 million from maple syrup reserve amid global shortage.
Here's a summary of the article.
The Biden administration is trying to rein in gas prices by releasing oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve. But a different sticky supply situation north of the border has spurred Canadians to tap their emergency stockpile of maple syrup amid a major shortage of the sweet stuff. The Quebec Maple Syrup Producers is a government-sponsored cartel that controls some 70% of the world's maple syrup supply and is sometimes compared to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries' grip on oil. The consortium of more than 11,000 Canadian maple syrup producers said this week that a warmer and shorter than expected spring led to a 24% year-over drop in production of the pancake topping. Amid surging demand for syrup as more people cook at home amid the pandemic, the cartel has been forced to tap a whopping £50 million of syrup from its strategic reserve. Helena Normandin, spokeswoman for the group, which sets bulk syrup prices, caps production and controls the stockpile, said the group will authorize more production of syrup next season in order to make up for the shortfall this year. That's why the reserve is made, to never miss maple syrup. And we won't miss maple syrup, she told NPR. The French-speaking Canadian province produces more than 70% of the world's maple syrup supply. In 2012, thieves made off with more than 3,000 tons of maple syrup, worth some $19 million Canadian dollars, from the stockpile.
This post received a score of 58,000, with an upvote ratio of 94%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The beacons were lit. Canada answers the call.
Release the geese and lose the moose.
Listen, if you've got a problem with Canada gooses, then you've got a problem with me, and I suggest you let that one marinate.
I've noticed walking down the path of my life, usually in the deepest and darkest and saddest times, that there's always one set of footprints in the sand, and they're webbed.
The important things. Whatever happens, we absolutely cannot have plain pancakes.
Imagine telling your pancake eaters there's no syrup. Have you seen how anti-maskers get when told to put a mask on? That doesn't even begin to compare.
Pancakes with no syrup? Naked waffles? Bare French toast? Where does it end? Edit. I am sorry. We'll make up and make the sex okay?
The syrup must flow.
Bless the maker and his syrup.
May his passing sweeten the world.
US releases oil reserves. UK releases oil reserves. Canada. Alright lads, it's time. Everyone always laughs at us about our maple syrup. But now you'll be the one saying please and thank you, or you'll be sorry.
I never had real maple syrup. Is it really that good?
My father-in-law makes it himself in small batches and it is absolutely marvelous. Poured over some homemade wild blueberry pancakes with a side of bacon and you're set to spend the rest of the day sawing logs and splitting wood.
That's it, I'm getting up early to pick up some bacon and making blueberry pancakes for the family before the reserves run dry.
The only time my username has ever been relevant.
You are holding this nation together.
The global supply chain.
The greater good. The greater good.
The most Canadian news I've seen this year.
I legit thought this was a joke mimicking the US releasing 50 million barrels of oil.
Me too thought it was the Beaverton news.
Ah, not the Beaverton.
Literally thought this was a satire headline. LMAO.
It's not?
Nah, we really have a maple syrup reserve. Also, we had the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist.
Fun fact. The US actually has a cheese reserve. The US dairy industry produces such a massive excess of milk, and subsequently cheese, that the government ends up buying a lot of it and stashing it around the country. We've been trying to get rid of it for decades, but the dairy industry just keeps churning out more. Remember the "Got Milk" ad campaigns from back in the day? Yeah, that was the US government frantically trying to pawn off this massive glut of cheese and other dairy products that we can't even give away because there's just so much.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.